Mike, thank you for joining us once again.
My pleasure. You guys feeling a little better this week or what?
I think so.
I feel a little better, for sure. I mean, a win to do that for you, Mike.
Yep. Mike, I'm still smarting from an argument I had with a fellow WIP host about an hour ago who thinks that professional athletes should be able to gamble on their own sports legally. What do you think about that opinion? He thinks they should be able to bet on their own props, bet on their own team. He thinks it wouldn't hurt at all.
It wasn't me, Mike. That's not my thoughts.
It wasn't him.
Not me.
I'm still angry from it, is the only reason I ask you about it.
I mean, I don't understand how you can bet on your own props and your own team and when you control it. You control all of that.
That's what I tried to tell him. Yeah.
You're talking to a guy whose college roommate was involved in the Boston College point shaving scandal in 1979, which was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and one of my roommates was the point guard on that team.
No,
really?
They did the 30 for 30 on that.
They did the 30 for 30 on it. They did it was part of the movie Goodfellas. They kept talking about that thing up in Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big deal. And I got interviewed by the FBI. It was really significant. And to Jimmy's credit, my roommate, he went state's evidence because he had nothing to hide.
Yeah.
And he's been fine the rest of his life. But man, they put him through hell for a few years, man.
Wow, that's crazy.
I didn't know that was your roommate.
Man,
wow.
John Middleton was your guard in high school.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You guys just thought I was this, very analytic guy.
Yeah, a lot of layers.
Wow, yeah, it's a lot of layers.
A lot of layers, Mike. Well, on to football, though, I think we could do a whole other segment, a different day on that, on the history of Mike Mayock. So let me ask you this: Sunday's game against the Vikings. Where does that rank in terms of the best that you've ever seen Jalen Hurts pass the ball?
I thought it was a really good game for him. I think the Super Bowl was a really good game for him. Actually, aside from a bad fumble in the first Super Bowl, I thought that was another good game for him. So I thought the two Super Bowls were outstanding, and this past week was really good. And I think the difference with me and it's not good talk radio, but the way I look at this, and it's boring, is it's a process. And to me, 2 weeks ago, the sky was not falling. I was frustrated. It didn't look good. And to be honest, today, it's just a little bit better. It's
right.
not, it's not fixed. The pass game's not fixed. The run game's not fixed. But it's getting a little bit better. And that's kind of, and maybe, I don't know if Ike believes the same thing it's kind of what, when you're a player, that's what you believe in. Over time, people get healthy, you get the right people in the right places with good coaching, and ultimately it starts to work at a certain point. And that's what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, that whole thing about, because, Mike, that's what we are taught as players is, pardon the term, trust the process. And it's the work you put in each week. And if you're getting a little bit better each week, the thing is going to look the way you want it to look eventually. It's just a matter of how quick do you get through that process and reach the potential that the coaches have set out for you. So, yeah, that's why I always think the teams that have the good leadership with players that don't stray or deviate from this and get frustrated and the team starts splintering, those are the teams that can overcome that stuff. I like Andy Reid, for example, out in Kansas City. Didn't look good the first couple of weeks. Did not look good. Now they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. 3 or 4 weeks ago, Mike, everybody said the Chiefs dynasty was dead, it's over with, and it's done. Now they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and people were saying, how can Joe Flacco go to Cincinnati and light it up a couple weeks like he did after a week of practice? How come the Eagles can't? And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, Joe's 100 years old. He's been doing it for 40 years. He's got two of the best receivers in the planet, and it's kind of plug and play. It's a whole different conversation than what's going on here. But anyway, I mean, Spike, you asked one question. I apologize.
No. It's a good conversation because what ends up happening is, if on the debate on the quarterback itself, it goes one of two ways. If he plays bad, then the people who don't think he's good say, see, I told you, there it is. And if he plays good And then the people who think he's good go, see, I told you, there it is. And the truth is, and I think this is what you're saying, is that all of those things are all part of the evaluation. And not one of them can't be more important than the other. It's what ends up being, what ends up happening more consistently is really where we are.
And there's an overall body of work, okay? And you guys remember this summer, a lot of people were arguing that a report came out where Jalen Hurts ranked in the pantheon of quarterbacks. And I think that report had him at 9. And all the Philly talk shows were going crazy. How could he be 9? He just won a Super Bowl. He's 1, he's 4, he's 3, he's 5, he's whatever. And now the same people are saying, oh, he's awful. And I kind of sit back and go, to me, I look at his body of work since he got in the league, what happens each day, each week, each year. And the way I look at him has not changed since back in August. And that is that there are 4 franchise quarterbacks in this league. 2 of them are currently hurt. And there's a group of quarterbacks from like 5 to 12 or 13 where you can win a Super Bowl with those guys. And by the way, Jalen won one, as did Matthew Stafford, who's another one I have in that group, 5 to 13. So they're really good players. They're just not franchise guys that can throw you on their back and take you to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, so, and depending on how they're playing, if you're going to rank them, it's going to depend on the
sliding
day.
Scale.
Yeah.
My scale doesn't change a whole lot week to week. It's just kind of what's he dealing with? Why is he dealing with it? When does he make a bad decision? How often does he make bad decisions? And to be honest with you, this past weekend, the coaches did some things I thought to help him out. And you guys been asking about coaching, and to me, here's a couple things that caught my eye, and I went in and did the tape, and
sure.
26 called passes. Okay, 4 of the called passes were under. They came out under center, and of those 4, they had +2, a 79-yard touchdown, an 18-yard completion, and a 21-yard completion. So 3 of the 4 were chunk plays under center. And by the way, 2 of the 3, they had 6 offensive linemen. So just in that group of 4 plays, we saw 2 things we haven't seen much of before. And that 6th offensive lineman took a lot of sting out of the Brian Flores 5- and 6-man pass rush. And I think because of that, Jalen had more confidence. And I thought he hung in the pocket longer. You saw him hit a couple late digs over the middle to Smitty. Some stuff that because he hung in and trusted the pocket. And the other thing I really liked about Jalen is that when he broke the pocket, instead of just looking to run for a first down or get out of bounds, he converted 2 huge third downs by keeping his eyes up as he left the pocket. They had a 3rd and I want to say 15 and picked up 27, and they had a 3rd and 13 where A.J. came back to the ball on the sideline and they picked up 13. And why that was important is 2 plays later is the A.J. Brown touchdown on the seam route.
Yep.
So to me, all this stuff is interconnected, right? The 27-yard A.J. Brown seam route doesn't happen if they don't get the scramble rules first down on 3rd and 13. So there's a lot of little good things I liked about this game, and part of it is that the coaches helped them get there.
Let me ask you something about the 6 offensive linemen, because I think Buffalo does that a bunch too. So we don't have Dallas Goedert aside, the other tight ends not particularly good at blocking. I wouldn't say. What is the negative to having 6 offensive linemen? Like, if I don't, why haven't they done? What would be the drawback to doing that?
Well, there is the drawback you semi alluded to, which is the fact that for the most part, even though he reports as eligible, depending on the situation, he's really not going to be out there running routes. Right.
So you have fewer people out there running routes.
Yeah, you're potentially losing a guy in the route. But what I really like about it, and it's something that my dad, the coach, used to laugh about for years when people talked about quarterbacks in the NFL getting hurt. He was like, just keep more people in pass protection. It's pretty friggin' simple, right? And that's what the Eagles did this weekend. They said, you know what? And it wasn't just in pass protection. Obviously, it was in the run game. They got under center. They had 10 snaps where they had 6 offensive linemen, and they only had 50 offensive snaps. So 20% of the time, they're in 6-0 linemen. And again, it wasn't like it every run. Obviously, the run game wasn't good, So it wasn't like all of a sudden it changed everything in the run game, but it did change some things, and it does give them some other options, both in pass protection and in the downhill run game.
Yeah, I think, Mike, initially after the game, everyone's excited about the win. No one wants to go through 3 straight losses. My goodness, yeah, we didn't want to deal with that. But it sounds like while you were certainly encouraged by some of the things they did, there's still some things that need to be cleaned up, and there's still a ways to go before they're where they should be as a legitimate Super Bowl, like playing as a Super Bowl team. Am I reading you right on that? You feel like there's still some things that need to be done?
Oh, 100%. And you know, it's every week I've watched this tape, and again, I've been harping on the O-line since day one, and you know, the left guard's not moving like he did a year ago, whether he's in the lineup or not. Mm-hmm. That interior offensive line, the center and 3 guards. I mean, Brett Toth played 70% of the snaps at 2 positions last week. You know, they're kind of musical chairs inside right now. Mailata had another, I don't even know if it was an average game by his standard. I think it was still below average, and Lane Johnson played well. So, you know, when you add it all up, they're still struggling a little bit. Hence, the coaches coming in with the 6-0 linemen and giving them a little temporary help. And it'll be interesting to see this week, you know, what they do or don't do with the Giants. But again, I thought it gave them a pop, especially with Jalen having some additional confidence in the pocket.
Well, you mentioned the Giants. If they do anything well defensively, it's that front, right? So if there's a team that you want to think about again, giving yourself some extra protection to give your quarterback a little bit extra time, I think this week wouldn't be a bad week to try it again.
Yeah, and, you know, inside, Sexy Dexy is a monster, and they've got 3 or 4 edge guys that are legit. So I really do believe that right now, as you're trying to get better and trying to bring your offensive line along with all the injuries, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that 6th offensive lineman, especially when you pair them in the run game so that they can't 100% say they know what's coming.
Yeah, just before we let you go, talking about the Giants, what do you think of Jackson Dart?
Been highly impressed with him. And I mentioned last time kind of a comparison to Bo Nix, and I see it even more. Both really athletic, not dynamic, but athletic. Both those quarterbacks hurt the Eagles badly with their legs, mostly with scrambles, but occasionally a planned quarterback run. Neither of them lack for confidence. They'll push the ball down the field. They're tough kids. I really like the way Dart has played. Obviously, they imploded last week for a lot of different reasons, and that's what bad teams do. They implode, but it's incumbent upon the Eagles to put enough pressure on them to get them to implode. Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I said, man, you lose that game, that kind of a loss has a stink on it of a bad team on a number of levels, even though there's some good players there. Giving up 33 points in the fourth quarter, especially when Dart goes and leads him to that touchdown right before to put him, you know, in the lead.
That should have been the game winner.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're a Giants fan, there's some things to be positive about with him and Scattaboo and some of the young guys, the pass rush, but they still have a long way to go.
Yeah. All right, Mike, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again same time next week.
Yes, sir.
You got it. Thanks, fellas.
There it is, the great Mike Mayock.